Okay, welcome to Into the Channel, a podcast primarily about women's football. Before we hit the pitch, if you enjoy the show or love women's football as much as your boys do, subscribe or follow us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to watch or listen. Comments, ratings, reviews, always appreciated. At ITC_pod on X, at Into the Channel pod on Threads. I am your host, Dino DeCespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What is up, man?
Feeling great, buddy. Football is pretty much back at this point. I mean, it's more than pretty much back. It's back. We got games to talk about. I really enjoyed doing our World 11s last week, and we have some other lists that we're going to talk about today. But I think the reason that we're here is because we like to watch the games, bro. And we have a few good ones to discuss later on that should give us some insight into how the rest of the Champions League could shake out. But before we hit the pitch, let's talk about these lists. The Guardian just dropped their famed 100 best women's footballers in the world list. And ESPN FC just dropped their top 50 list about a month ago. And I feel like we should talk about them.
Let's go. Champions League, it's on break for another 10-ish days. The domestic leagues slowly working their way back. We're getting some League Cup type stuff, and we're still a couple weeks away, I think, from the action hitting full throttle. So great time to look back. You know, we did our starting 11s. Very fun. I'm excited to hear what stuck out to you.
Number one, pun intended here. I do not think we should be too surprised that the lists are pretty similar, especially at the top. And let's just get this out of the way. Not because it's a chore to talk about, because she's one of the most wonderful players in the world to watch. In fact, according to both of these lists, she's the number one player in the world. And that is, of course, Aitana Bonmatí of Spain, of Barcelona. I think she is about as close to a consensus best player in the world that you would get in men's or women's football. You know, even in the days of Lionel Messi, there was a really sizable contingent of people who were ardent that Cristiano Ronaldo was a better individual talent. I don't think there's a ton of that in the women's game right now with Bonmatí.
Definitely agree with that. I was absolutely a less informed soccer fan at that point, and I was definitely more of a Ronaldo guy just because his play was so spectacular to see. Like his spectacular was more spectacular. I've since swung probably the other way, you know, when you learn more about the genius that is Messi. And Bonmatí, you know, we've talked about in the show, some Messi vibes. I think that's fair to say.
Oh, yeah.
And then obviously Bonmatí's winning everything.
Yeah.
World Cup, Liga F, Champions League. I mean, they might repeat. She might lead that team to a repeat across all three, World Cup included in a few years. And then obviously they have somewhat of the inside track to be able to qualify for the Olympics as well.
Yeah. You know, they'll probably lose in the Euros to England. No bias there whatsoever, obviously. But that will be interesting to see. But yeah, her at number one. What are we going to do? Argue with that? Probably not. So talking about the list a little more, you know, it's obviously a benefit for the Guardian that they have 100 players to work with for their list. I feel like it kind of gives them like editorially to kind of try to make some bolder decisions. One thing that stuck out to me as we just kind of get into the list now, but Keira Walsh of England and Barcelona, she is number 17 on ESPN's top 50. She's number 4, according to The Guardian. And I think that was one of the more significant differences that I saw. And I just got to wonder, man, Barcelona, they paid around $400K for her transfer fee, which I think is still the highest ever for a women's footballer. It's still kind of easy for Walsh to get lost in that all-star team. And it's just like, how much does that kind of impact ESPN's view on it? You know, you read stuff about this player and about this squad, and it's like, do people really understand how much of an engine she is? And you have been following Barcelona in your assigned group, Group A, as we cover the Champions League. What are people missing with Keira Walsh?
Sometimes this description gets thrown around in the NBA where a player can go stretches where you don't realize they're on the floor. Mm-hmm. And I think Keira Walsh has a little bit of that. I think when she's on it, you know, again, she's spectacular and very smart, super responsible, and just super effective as a footballer. But obviously the team's loaded. You know, she played on that England team as well. She had sort of that near miss injury during the World Cup. But she didn't quite have the spectacular moment there either, you know, so just a really super solid player that, and maybe it's also the transfer fee price tag that kind of is looming. We see this also in the other sports when there's the transfer fee like that. The expectations are obviously sky high as well. I think, to be fair, she's probably somewhere in the middle. I don't think she's as high as 4. I don't think she's as low as 17.
I think that's a totally fair take. I was going to ask, like, which one is she closer to? It's hard. It's almost impossible to say, really, right? I mean, she is in the middle. And I can tell you in the lead up to the World Cup, as I was like listening to the Daily Football BBC podcast, and they were interviewing the players in the buildup, I think it might have been Millie Bright or maybe might have been Alex Greenwood perhaps. But they said they would jokingly give her a little bit of shit. Like, the world's most expensive footballers here, everybody. Let's get ready to play now. And that's a thing that comes with that price tag.
Yep, 100%. You'll be surprised to learn that your boy had some quibbles with the list. Just a couple quibbles.
Let's go.
First quibble, CGH, number 15 on ESPN's list. That didn't feel right. The Guardian had her at number 7. I'm going to go with that in my personal record books.
Yep.
Not only is she great, but she's fucking playing great.
Yeah.
The last I checked, I think she either had like 9 goals and 9 assists or 11 goals and 11 assists in 11 games, like something just astronomical.
Yep.
And then you also see it on the pitch. She's just a menace. Like, it reminds me of the game of freeze tag. You know, when there's elementary school kids, it's just one kid's just more elusive and faster and just could do whatever they want. She doesn't strike me as being that fast, but you just can't get near her, you know, and she just will find space, find a way around you one way or the other. And then she'll find somebody open, or she'll just thump it into the net and then just kind of go about her business. So she's ice cold, exactly my kind of player. She was on both of our starting 11s. I think she is closer to number 7 than she is to 15. So shout out to the Guardian on that one.
Totally agree. I mean, you really nailed it. She might not even kind of look that fast, but it's the on the ball speed and then the passing ability at speed, which I think is just breathtaking sometimes. The passing accuracy at speed, it just jumps off the screen every time you watch her play.
100%.
I will say this is not a quibble. I think this is mostly just a shout out. So obviously I'm wearing it on my chest. It's well established who I support on this podcast.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
The Manchester City Sky Blues had 4 players in the ESPN top 50. They had 6 in the top 50 of the Guardians list. Lauren Hemp, Bunny Shaw, Alex Greenwood, Jill Roord, Yui Hasegawa, and Chloe Kelly. Chloe Kelly was absent from ESPN's list. I think that's probably a miss. They had Alex Greenwood at 50 on ESPN's list. She's 33 on the Guardians list. I got to wonder how much of that is, they're probably paying. And it's not that ESPN does not have journalists covering the WSL, but I just think the Guardian has home field advantage in that case. And I think they get to see Alex Greenwood's contributions to the club for the team that's, sitting second in the table in the WSL right now. So, I'd like to see that showing, and it's always, always good. I did think it was funny. Yui Hasegawa, number 40 on the Guardians list, number 44 on ESPN's list. We talked a lot about her during the World Cup as just like this player who will get you settled, get you going into your offense, plays reliable defense. It's good to see that those kind of skills were not overlooked on either list.
Yeah, 100%. I think your squad was pretty well represented. I was proud of our starting 11s, especially when I saw Bunny Shaw rank so high, just because I think on the Guardians list last year, she was a good bit lower.
Yeah.
And, she wasn't on FIFPro's list. So I'm just kind of like, damn, am I like off base here going with Bunny Shaw as one of my starting 11? But seeing her, ranked 24 and 32 on ESPN's list, I felt great about that. I think we did pretty solid top to bottom. Our lowest ranked starting 11 player, according to The Guardian, was Aaron Cuthbert at number 57. And I don't know, man, give me 10 Aaron Cuthberts and I like my chances.
100% with you, man. We'll talk about her later. It's funny that I mentioned that about Hasegawa. If you just think about Cuthbert's contributions to an attack-focused Chelsea team, she is so necessary back there and so integral to their dominance. And she's the captain of the squad. Obviously, Millie Bright is going through an injury issue right now, and so the armband kind of got passed to Cuthbert. That's not an accident, though. Emma Hayes is not out here drawing names out of a hat. Cuthbert I really think that she is pretty close to a world-class player. I was happy to see that she was on both of our World 11s. I think maybe the Guardian and ESPN, they need to catch up to us a little bit on the Cuthbert bandwagon.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, she should be low 30s, maybe high 40s.
Yeah.
One other thing that did not go unnoticed, a little weird to see Kadidiatu Diani come in at number 12 on the Guardians list, considering that's a higher ranking than the following names from this year's FIFPro World 11 list. You made the joke last week. You're like, come on, man, there can't be 8 forwards better than Diani. She's ranked 12th, ahead of Alessia Russo, Alex Morgan, Jenny Hermoso, Ella Toon, Georgia Stanway, Claudia Pina, Irene Paredes, Ashley Lawrence, Amanda Illicet, Alex Greenwood, Lucy Bronze, and Olga Carmona, who all made the FIFPro list, all ranked behind number 12, Kadidiatu Diani. Put some respect on Diani's name already.
Got to. I mean, we saw it in the World Cup. Her ability on the ball, her ability to score from wherever, to make genius passes in the final third. I mean, Diani is just, I guess I'd be repeating myself. There aren't 8 strikers better than her. I cannot be convinced of that. And because we care about journalism, I made a pretty ugly mistake. And I was kind of blaming FIFA for this FIFA Pro list. And let me tell you why this one hurts, buddy. Because I had a misunderstanding. I thought it was FIFA in conjunction with FIFA Pro. FIFA Pro is the organization that works with and kind of organizes all the players' associations from the different leagues. And so for the FIFA Pro list, this list is made and voted on by other professional footballers. And the reason this is embarrassing for me to say this is an oversight when I'm blaming FIFA, I'm a union guy, and these are the players' unions, members of the fucking players' unions voting on these, and it like dawned on me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a unionist blaming a company for union members' votes. And I just kind of felt a little dopey about it. So let me raise my hand and say, my bad, FIFA Pro, my bad to the players. I will say one thing that I think a lot of American sports fans or just American sports pundits get wrong is when a player says something they don't like, they just go, well, he's not that good of a player. He doesn't know anything. That's such a stupid way to approach this. I think Dino and I are probably pretty aligned. I obviously respect the opinions of these players. They do something that I could never do something way better. I just don't agree. So I stand by that I don't love some of the choices of the FIFA Pro list. It doesn't mean the people who voted don't know what they're talking about.
Still not a great list.
No, I don't think it's a great list. I'm with you.
All right, FIFA didn't mess this one up. They messed up a bunch of stuff before. We keep it moving. We appreciate the correction, the self-correction. Takes a big man to be able to do that, even though I'm not sure I know who you are anymore, just being so staunchly anti-union.
Crazy, yeah. Yeah, there was a horrifying realization by me.
All good. I'm sure our audience will forgive. My last major quibble. No Leia Schuler. 26 years old. She was number 41 on last year's Guardian list. 94 career goals in 151 career Frauen-Bundesliga matches. 22 matches last season, she notched 14 goals, 3 assists. In 9 matches this season, another 3 goals, another 3 assists. And she's keeping her Bayern team definitely in the mix in UEFA Women's Champions League, Group C, Group of Life. She was a terror. She's firing shots all over the place. She hasn't gotten lucky to a high degree just yet in the group stage, but she just looks so super live. I'm not sure how she's not one of the 100 best players in the world. And then you look at her production on the German national team. In 44 career appearances, she's got 30 goals. I don't know, man. If you're telling me she's not in that top 100, I don't think I could be friends with you. I just can't.
I think you nailed it. It's the weirdest omission that I noticed. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, shit, top 100? Certainly in the top 100. No chance. I don't think she's in the top 75.
I feel like it had to be an error, especially considering she was 41 last year. Like, nothing, okay, yeah. She's not averaging a goal per game, but, I mean, she still looks super dangerous. She still is playing really great.
Yeah.
We're not going to hold that against them. Definitely enjoyed the exercise of reviewing both lists. And at the end of the day, it's great to see just more exposure for the women's game, people talking about it. That's what posts like these really do, is just kind of get our brains going. They get circulated across the internet, and that helps raise the water level pretty much globally, which is very exciting.
Yeah, totally agree. And if I could cape up for one player here, I'm going to cape up for Carolyn of the North Carolina Courage, 23-year-old Brazilian striker. She was the 2023 NWSL MVP. She's number 31 on ESPN's list. She's number 39 on the Guardian's list. That felt a little low for the NWSL MVP. I'll just give like a quick personal anecdote. The Courage played in Seattle on October 1st. It was a draw 1-1. Carolyn scored the equalizer in that match. She was playing on the right wing. I was seated on that side. I was about 2 rows back near midfield. I saw a lot of her action from Jump Street. She is a terror. She is so fast, so smart. I think about 7 minutes into the match, my wife Jennifer looked at me and she goes, "Oh, she's way faster than our defenders." And I was like, yeah, it looks like it. And that equalizer she scored, it was her 10th goal of the season. She was second in the Golden Boot race in the NWSL, on her way to winning MVP. Unfortunately, this does serve as a reminder that she did suffer an ACL injury in her final match of the NWSL season on October 15th. So we're going to have to wait a while to see her get back. I think her position on this list was probably hurt a little by the fact that Brazil didn't make it out of the group stage, but she was super crucial to the Courage winning the NWSL Challenge Cup trophy. She scored the match winner in that final. And so I expect her to make this list many times over throughout her career. And of course, I think I'll comfortably speak for all football fans when, we wish her a full and speedy recovery. And then we can watch her play and watch her dazzling skill once again.
Definitely wishing her a speedy recovery. She's pretty exciting in the World Cup, I would say. And I think that World Cup argument is a little bit unfair because Germany was very well represented at the top of these lists. They didn't make it out of the group stage. And somebody on YouTube left us a comment with regards to there might not be a German side that makes the Champions League quarterfinals, pretty much down to Frankfurt and Bayern. So
that's nuts.
If neither of those two make it, and obviously the early exit from the World Cup, France is knocking on the door. We're going to talk about things happening in their domestic league here in a second. But yeah, it's pretty wild to imagine that, France might be leapfrogging them. And then they've obviously got the Olympics coming up. They're taking place in Paris. So we'll keep an eye on that.